Hey everyone, Chris Ward here, your friendly neighborhood project management and IT service management edutainer. And I bet many of you have been hearing about the update to the Project Management Professional, or PMP for short. The new exams, it's coming out, and perhaps you've been thinking about getting that certification. Well, today I'm going to walk you through the way to get started with PMP, the path to the PMP, what the requirements are, best place to get some information, and a few, well, what do I do next pointers. And so first off, let's start off with our knowledge and information that we need. The source of all knowledge that you need to know about getting the PMP or anything else is going to be the website, www.pmi.org. I almost said it wrong. The Project Management Institute is what PMI stands for. They are the ones that put together all of the content, the exam credentials, everything, and they're more than that. It's also a great resource. I almost call it a society of professionals that get together and they put white papers out. They have a journal, a professional peer-reviewed journal on project management. You can learn a whole bunch of great stuff there. In fact, we're going to take a look at that website here in just a second. And then the other thing that you're going to really want to get is the guide to the project management body of knowledge. Now, currently, this is in the 6th edition. You will also hear it referred to as the PMBOK, literally PMBOK. And of course, the PMBOK is going to be where not all of the testable materials coming from the PMBOK, but quite a bit of it. I would say at least about half of the material that you're going to be tested on will come from that PMBOK, and obviously some other areas and documents that will be referred to in the exam credentials and all the content, the exam content that's going to be there. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and zoom on out, and we are going to take a look at PMI.org. All right, here we go. This is PMI.org, as you can see at the top here. But the most important thing that you're really going to want to do is come down here and learn how to get your PMP, and then right here, this magic thing called the PMP Exam Content Outline. If you select this, you notice it's a PDF. You can download it. I would print it out. I would make sure that you spend some time studying this and knowing exactly what it is they're looking for. They will give you the references to the PMBOK or other documents or other books that you might need access to, but they give you the complete list and ready to go. Now, one other thing about getting a PMP certification. I love how they say this. Earning your PMP certification is a commitment. That's why it's valuable. Well, what it is you have to apply for this thing. So guess what? 4-year degree. So if you have a bachelor's degree or equivalent, by the way, for those of you watching outside the United States, same thing. If you've gone to uni and you've got a degree, if it's a 4-year degree or equivalent, that qualifies. You also need, notice, 36 months leading projects, and those have to be unique months. And so guess what? That means you actually have to be doing the projects. Now, let's say you don't have a bachelor's degree. That's okay, as long as you have a high school diploma or equivalent. Like here in the States, we have what is known as the General Education Document, or GED, as it's sometimes called. If in wherever you're watching from outside the U.S., you typically will have some sort of similar, you finished a secondary school and you got some sort of document, that will be good enough. And you need 5 years of project management experience. So the other thing you're going to need is some training, which, hey, good news is we here at IT Pro TV, we have plenty of project management training for you, so you can get that as well. But what if I don't have all this experience, but I still want to get my PMP eventually? Not a problem. As we can see over here, scrolling up a little bit, there is something called the Certified Associate in Project Management. Now, this, or CAPM, as it's typically called, the nice thing about this is it's kind of an entry-level type of certification. The only prerequisites, as you can see here, is a secondary degree. So again, just like I said, a high school diploma, associate's degree, a global equivalent, something like that. Just so it's not just, you went to elementary school, here as we'd say in the States, and that's all you ever did. They want to make sure you at least got some education beyond that. Once you do that, the only other thing you need is 23 hours of project management education. Again, IT Pro TV, we are here to help. make sure you check out any of my training or Joe or any of the great things that we have here in project management. Once you do that, you're just going to take an exam. It's 150 questions, and then you can maintain it by getting professional development. And so here is, of course, all of the application, the certification facts, the content, including the CAPM handbook. I would highly suggest doing that. So whether you're going to decide that you want to start off with the CAPM or you don't have enough experience, no worries. You can just jump on over there. Now, one thing that we're going to see here is that project management professionals need more diverse skills and approaches than ever before. Now, the project management professional or PMP certification is, like we said, changing in January of 2021. So if this is after January of 2021, you're watching this, like a kind of a rewind, you will need to know that this is the new material. And it's going to focus on 3 domains. It used to focus on process groups, the 5 process groups of initiating and planning and all that. Now there are 3 domains that they're going to pull this information. The first is, of course, is going to be people. Hey, you know what? You need people to do projects. Skynet hasn't activated. The Terminators haven't taken over yet. You need people. And this is going to emphasize the skills and activities associated with effectively leading a project team. So let's talk about motivational theory and a whole bunch of other things. Second is going to be process, and that's where you're going to reinforce the technical aspects of managing a project, using a work breakdown structure, using a Scrum, and what does the Agile and the hybrid versions do, and putting a budget together and a schedule, and what does that look like? Maybe using a Kanban chart, what does that look like? Those are all technical things that we do as project managers. And then third and finally is going to be business environment. This is going to highlight the connection between projects and organization strategy. You don't perform projects in a vacuum. You will be performing projects around everything that has to do with your business. Now, the content that's in here is going to span the value delivery spectrum. I mentioned a couple of terms there: predictive, agile, and hybrid approaches. All 3 of those are going to be included in all 3 of those exam domains that we see here. So what else is in there? I heard a rumor, Chris, that they actually shortened the amount of questions, and all this because of the COVID-19 and the ability to take it online proctored. It used to be when I got mine, you actually went into a testing center and it had to be at a testing center. Not anymore. Now, in fact, they're encouraging people to take this as an online proctored exam. There are 180 questions. It used to be 200 questions over 4 hours. Now it's 180 questions, but you have 230 minutes to complete the exam. You're going to get a new break. They added an additional break, so you have 2 10-minute breaks. And the questions are going to be this combination of, you're going to have multiple choice. I think there will always be multiple choice questions on an exam. Also multiple responses, so you'll pick more than one. Correct? Matching, they've got some hot spots where you have to click on that part of the diagram that actually represents something, and some limited fill in the blank. Now, all the questions on the exam have been written and extensively reviewed by people like me, qualified PMP certification holders, and they do track to at least 2 academic references. So it's not like I just made up a term and said, well, I call this the whatchamacallit technique, and everyone goes, I've never heard of that. Well, everyone uses it. No, nobody does. So they make sure they put it on an academic reference. And these questions, though, will be mapped against what I showed you, that PMP examination content outline. And that means that there's going to be an appropriate number of questions in place for those areas. Now, about half of the exam is going to represent predictive project management. So kind of more old school waterfall type techniques where you build out a work breakdown structure before you do anything. A lot of planning, and then you execute on the plan and monitor and control. Change is very formal. The other half is going to represent agile or hybrid approaches. So remember that. Predictive, agile, and then hybrid, which is usually kind of a mix of the 2. They're all going to be found throughout those 3 domains that we talked about. And they're not isolated to any particular domain or task. It's not like, oh, we're only going to talk about agile and people, and we'll do predictive in the business environment. So what are we going to do next? Next steps? Well, let's review your experience and decide. Are you going to do the CAPM? Because, Don't need any project management experience. Or you're going to do the PMP. Make sure that you have an appropriate amount of experience before you fill out that application. Sign up for PMI. Now, understand it's about $130 to sign up for PMI, but you get a discount on the exam. You also get a free copy of the PMBOK 6th edition. So, well, I guess it's not free since you paid to sign up. And by the way, myself, IT Pro TV, we don't see a dime of that. So it's strictly good for you, and it's good on your resume as well to be a member of PMI. Fill out your application and then set your goals for studying. I think that's a really important thing. How much time are you going to spend? I say it takes about 100 hours of outside study. You can take our training classes and those type of things, but get out there and get it. That's the last thing. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today, and I wish you all the best and continued success. Be on the lookout for the new PMP training course here at IT Pro TV.